I wasn't able to get to this, or I thought so and so was supposed to do it. You start thinking to yourself, why wasn't it done in the way that I wanted it to be done? And this is Chen Yen, your 6 and 7 figure practice makeover mentor and show host of Kyra Secure today. Today, we're going to be talking about three practical tips if you're tired of feeling like you're having to babysit your team. So managing and growing your team is one of the hardest things in when growing a chiropractic practice, because many of you were taught how to be a good doctor, but not necessarily how these kinds of things like stepping into CEO leadership role isn't something that's taught in school. And then you're out and then of school and as you grow, you end up hitting these, needing to deal with these kinds of experiences, and you might either be in a place where you currently have staff right now and you feel like you're having to look over their shoulders more than you would like. You would just like it to be done well without you having to do that as much. Or you might be in a place where you've heard of other people's bad experiences. Maybe you have had bad experiences yourself, or you're just gun shy to hire because of this. And so, wherever you're at with this, learning these three practical tips will help you be able to have better experience with your team and have them have more productivity and up to your standards, so that you are able to hire people to help you and free up your time more so that you could reach more people than you could alone. You can also be having them making money for you even when you're not there. So let's talk about those three tips. And I would also like to see you go ahead and type in the chat. What are your biggest challenges related to team or hiring? So I get a sense of that, and can also bring in new topics to you that are most relevant to you. So practical tip number one is, are you setting clear expectations? Are you defining what success looks like in a very specific way of what you're thinking in your head? For example, I made this mistake quite a bit early on in my first business, and I remember I would expect people to do things with a certain sense of urgency, just because I felt like, well, that's the high standards that everyone should expect. Shouldn't people on my team already know that? And so I would expect them to either have a sense of urgency of deadlines, just like I would, or standards, just like I would, without realizing, oh, I guess they can't really read my mind. And my understanding of what a sense of urgency is might be different for someone else's understanding of what they feel like urgency is. So, do you have clear expectations set? Do you also share with people what is the definition of success, so that they start to have a bigger picture about this, to where also ideally, if you can bring in your vision into your practice more on a daily basis. So what is the vision, that whatever it is that you're asking them to do, what how does that tie into your big vision? Even little things that you might think, oh, okay, it's just help me file this thing. It feels like, well, that might not be something that requires talking about your big vision of your practice, but it's still really helpful for people to continue to be reminded of the bigger picture purpose of even if they were to or just acknowledging them that this is of so much help to me, because as you free up my time with filing these things, and I'm able to help more patients, have us help more patients. So set clear expectations, clearly define success, and share your big picture vision whenever possible. The second practical tip is context versus task. Context versus task. So this is something that I made this mistake of quite a bit also, especially earlier on in my business. When I first hired my first admin person, I thought, yay, now I can go and delegate all these things to them, and then my time's going to be freed up. And so sure enough, that did start to happen. But then I felt like I got tired. How many of you have ever felt tired of this, where you felt like you kept having to tell your team to do certain things, um, and you wish they would think ahead more for the practice, or you wish that they would think for themselves even more. You know that they're capable. You feel like they're totally capable of that. But how do you have that happen to where they are taking ownership more, and you don't feel like you always have to let them know, hey, do this task and that task or this task. And so this is very important, regardless of what kind of a level of, whether it's someone who's an admin person or someone who's an associate or other kinds of hire or marketing person. What's the context of why they are doing what they're doing? And do they understand the big picture of impact of this particular thing and the purpose of why this task is? So how can you be cognizant on a regular basis about sharing context over stuff, in terms of doing this task, and then when you make it a habit to set context, you will notice it'll set you free faster. I know someone who was in an operations role, and I also know the person who's the owner of the business, and the operations person used to always get kind of frustrated. She would say, "Why do you always say these things about context and context? Just tell me what to do and I'll do it." Right? And a year later, she said to the owner, she said, "Oh, I get it now," because now they had a bigger team, and when she understood as the operations manager, when understood the context, she was able to translate that context to the rest of the team also. So they ended up thinking more for looking after the practice, looking after taking ownership of things. So that way, there was less micromanaging. How many of you would love to be micromanaging less? Raise your hand, right? So yeah. Okay. So what is the third practical tip especially if you are tired of babysitting your team or staff, is is there good training? Is there good systems and procedures? So both in the way of when they first get started to ongoing as well, that make the process really smooth. And do you spend time initially fostering the growth of your team, or do you kind of just throw them in and say, hey, you go do this because you have these strengths, you said you have all these strengths, so why don't you just take it and run with it? And even if you do train, do you kind of still have a little bit of that tendency where you feel like, well, I don't have time to train because XYZ, because I need to see patients during this time and I only have a very, very tiny amount of time left to train. And so you just have to figure this thing out as much as possible. Well, one of the biggest mistakes a lot of chiropractors make is that, and not thinking about how someone's success in the as they continue, like what they can actually take off your plate is very dependent on what you set as expectations early on and how well they're trained even from the start. Because if they aren't trained very well from the start, they might struggle more than they really should, and they get frustrated. Or they might figure stuff out on their own, but then maybe there's certain things. Remember back to what I mentioned about standards that they didn't realize were important to you because you basically didn't have time to share that with them, right? So then that can lead to misalignment of what they think it is in terms of doing a good job versus what you think is doing a good job. Have you ever had that happen to you before? Even having staff or employee where you were about to fire and they actually thought they were doing a really good job, or a staff or employee you felt like it wish that things would be different, and then in terms of how well they're performing, and they seem to think they're doing a wonderful job, right? So these are some of the things that if we don't pay attention to early on, it could bleed into how the expectations are down the road, and also in how well they're really trained. So do you have a 90-day onboarding plan? most chiropractors don't really have a solid 90-day onboarding plan for every role that they want to hire for in the office. And then if you do actually have a 90-day onboarding plan, what are the things that really need to be in it that can help increase the chances of success? So these are some of the things that a lot of chiropractors just don't think about because it's not an everyday thing, right? I mean, for us, the reason why chiropractors come to us for this is because, for one, I've had experience of both in failing and in the hiring process miserably, and then also having people come to us to recruit for them. This is in my other business, and then we also have had clients who've worked with us and not had these kinds of systems in place. And then once we actually get it in place, things continue to skyrocket and grow significantly. Recently we had a client of ours who she never had truly a true onboarding plan, and also had trouble. Like she had a revolving door of associates more than she would have liked. And using this process now, she's hired an office manager she's really excited about, and she's also in terms of the associates, also hiring associates. It's really, really exciting, right? So that's what's possible from getting things like this in place. That and so, as far as systems, also in procedures, do you have systems that do you feel like you're reinventing the wheel all the time? Or even if you already have, and they're not, or things aren't documented, and so you feel like every time you do something you have to teach it again. Even the training process, are there things in there that could be more automated and streamlined so that you don't always have to take time out of your day to help people with something like it? That way it won't be so time intensive with training. And then the other thing is, do you have a lookout on efficiency for your practice? So sometimes as you grow, there are things that start breaking down. Have you ever noticed that before? Things become more complicated, or the things that used to work earlier on in your business, which you're doing right now, it's not sustainable in the next level of growth. Whether it's in unrealistic how much more staff you'll need to get to still do it the same way, or it is in the tediousness of it, or it just simply just breaks down, right? Doesn't work too well. So now, if you've actually done the above, and then you're still babysitting your team, then it could be that you simply don't have the right hire. And because the best systems, the best structure, the best leadership, it won't replace you having the right person. I know that there are many times in my businesses where if something wasn't working out, I always thought, how am I showing up, and how am I contributing to this? Maybe I'm not training them as well. Maybe I'm not setting them up for success as well. How can I improve? And then it would always be really hard for me, for example, to let someone go because I would have built a relationship with them. And I mean, it's still a very hard thing for me to do. And so how many of you can relate to that, right? Your heart feels softened whenever you think about, oh, I need to fire someone, and then you don't. And then you end up keeping them for longer than you really should. And then it actually costs you more, and you're both perhaps even more dissatisfied, both of you, right? So if you've done these things that I've shared with you, with those 3 practical tips, and truly, then it may just not be the right person. So instead of holding on to someone longer than you should, then look at how can you already be looking for, continue to be hiring. So in terms of be on the lookout for hiring someone new, be shopping. So what I've thought about doing to help you further with this is, how many of you would like to have a toolkit to half your hiring time, or cut down the amount of time it takes to go and find the right hire and attract them, and all that, right? So what I decided to do is to give you access to this free Half Your Hiring Time Toolkit. I'm going to pop it in the chat here so you can click on it and download the roadmap to our 6 and 7 figure hiring system roadmap, as well as templates that you can use right away. For example, what do you ask in an interview that isn't typical kinds of interview questions, but that can help you suss out um, the right candidate more effectively than if you didn't use it. And there are questions in there that you likely would have never asked people before. This has come from years of experience. It's also come from helping our clients and seeing what works and what doesn't. So you can get the shortcut to that. So I'm going to include that. I'm also going to include, have you ever done reference checks before? And then it's like you still feel like there's only so much you can understand of someone through a reference check. Well, I'm going to give you some of our top reference checks questions that even when we've asked people the references these questions, they've said, hey, those are really good questions. I'm going to start using those, because these aren't typical kinds of reference questions that are being asked. And so you can use them to help you, again, have a better understanding of who you're thinking about hiring before you hire them. So that way you could prevent management and headaches and actually have someone good be on your team who can start freeing up your time more, who can start also helping you bring more revenue into the practice. And if you're in a place where you're at a plateau in your practice and you just know you're capable of so much more and you would really like to have a practice you're proud of in this next level of growth, we've ushered our clients into multi 6 and 7 figures the introverted way in a 3 to 4 year time frame. So feel free to reach out to us and you can use, you go to that link and then request to chat to see how we can give you insight on how we can help you grow faster. And to you, waking up the planet more, and with that free templates and download link, you can go to introvertedvisionary.com/hiring toolkit. So introvertedvisionary.com/hiring toolkit. And till next time. So next week's show is Charmaine Herman. And so stay tuned for her show next week, and to you waking up the planet and helping more people who need you.